Otangatu Landongi, the Nikazu Jibusung Lanjari Madres, Marva, Jibusung Lanjarimba, Nasunga Dungel Tane, Dundrundra Langarimba, Jibu Chungotan Tumo Lanjarimba. Then Kudungel Tane, Tabandra Dreg Landele, then Jibun Dinda Tumo Lanjarimba. Then Jibu Chimbi Lanjarimba, what does waters, Marva?
So we've been going over this text by the great master Atisha called The Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment. And really what this text encompasses is the stages of the path for beings of three capacity. The first level is called the stages of the path for beings of small capacity, or the stages of the path shared in common with beings of small capacity. And that particular scope refers to a type of being who wishes to be free from the lower realms of cyclic existence and wishes to be reborn into the higher realms. So that is his or her sole focus and aim, is to be free from lower realms and to be able to attain rebirth into the higher realms. And if the scope does not go any further beyond than that, or does not go beyond that, then this is called the stages of the path shared in common with beings of small capacity. If that person, if a being not only sees the downfalls of the lower realms of cyclic existence, but also recognizes the downfalls of the higher realms and wishes to definitely get out of cyclic existence altogether and wishes to be free from the suffering of cyclic existence altogether, then this type of person is called a being of medium capacity. And these teachings are called the stages of the path shared in common with beings of medium capacity. I don't know if I said before small, but I meant medium. So this is the medium scope. And then the great scope is when a being sees the downfalls of cyclic existence and not only wishes to be free from cyclic existence for him or herself alone, but wishes to become a fully enlightened, all-knowing Buddha in order to free all sentient beings from cyclic existence. So this type of being is called a practitioner of the great scope, or a being of great capacity. These are the three levels in the stages of the path that are described in this text, The Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment.
That Jibu Chimbi Lanjarin Badala, that Junre Banga Dujugun and Sanjibi Sudan, Dajan Yabajigun Sanjibi Suni Yungwaris.
So when we refer to the being of great capacity and we speak of the great scope, we need to speak of bodhicitta, or the mind that aspires to enlightenment. And there are two separate causal factors, there are two lineages of causal factor for achieving the state of bodhicitta, or achieving the mind that aspires to enlightenment. One lineage passed from Maitreya to the great master Asanga is called the 7-point cause and effect for achieving bodhicitta. And the second lineage passed from Manjushri to Nagarjuna is called equalizing and exchanging self with others. So these are the two lineages of causal factors for achieving the mind that aspires to enlightenment, which is a main characteristic of the great scope. And when we speak of vehicles within the great vehicle, we can divide that into two. We can say the first one is called the perfection vehicle, and the second is the tantric vehicle, or the continuum vehicle, secret vehicle. So these are the two divisions of the great vehicle.
Chudinji labala, labi chudinji labala, labi chudang, labi denganji labala, labi chudang, shiraji labala, labi chu, songdung waris, labasung. Labasung lagu waris, labasung labi chudila, and pashin tibal labi chudu wadere waris, marba. Labi chudinji laba, labi denganji laba, labi shiraji laba, songle, labi tsudele, ane bajin tebala labi tsus, o de song yung kuwaris, marwa.
And when we speak of the perfection vehicle within the great vehicle, there are three trainings that are actually called the three highest higher trainings. And these are as follows: the highest higher training in ethical behavior, the highest higher training in concentration, and the highest higher training in wisdom. So these three higher trainings are a main characteristic of the perfection vehicle, which is the first of the division, the two divisions in the great vehicle.
다 주딘지 러버도 줄로 건가를 요하르스. Jewishidan, Ishudan, Hindudan, or Samal Sutinj Lava Yuare, Tingazi Lava Yuare, Shiraj Lava Kangal Yuares, Nambagita, Tesul Labi, Sutinj Lava, Tingazi Lava, Shiraj Lava, what the Nessa Waters?
So, speaking of these three trainings, if we just use the words ethical behavior or ethics, concentration, and wisdom, we can say that these three types of trainings can be found in all religious traditions, in the Christian tradition, in the Judaism, in the Muslim tradition, and the Hindu tradition, and various other religious traditions do emphasize these three trainings. But the reason that these are called highest higher trainings is because that makes these particular trainings exclusive to the Buddhist vehicle. So by calling them the highest higher training, this labels it as an exclusive teaching or an exclusive path within the Buddhist tradition that is not found or is not in common with all of the other religious traditions.
다 라비 주딘이 라바 남비 주딘데 아니 주로 yenda가 주딘을 간데스 하고 알았어. 간데스 하이 간데스에는 거라서 집에 있나? 되는 베지 남비 주딘도 그걸로 낸조가 삼비 심이 주딘이스. 나바 주딘이 온데나스 도와도 줄래야 소대가 주딘도 줄래야 코알레 나바 낸조가 삼비 심이 sembaji gugure songo waris tenne soda chance sa tuseya chudi tuzungaya koale ngaban ju nganju ka same sembaji jerwa chulo jendal beji koale ngaban ju nganju ka samba semba beji me jere dei chane ane labi chudis chulo jendal labi chudis wa tende re no.
So why is it Dene Rinpoche ngechuachi then Jipuk Chungo then Nepa Jongwa Yomare then the Konso de Klapasum okay Gemma. So why are these called the highest higher trainings? What is exclusive within the Buddhist tradition that makes this special? The reason that this is special is within the Vinayak tradition of ethical behavior. This ethical behavior is coupled with renunciation, with the desire to definitely get out of cyclic existence. So the higher training in ethics and the higher training in concentration and wisdom is coupled with renunciation. So the driving force or aim of these behaviors is the renunciation, which makes it special and makes it different than other religious traditions. So this is why they are called the highest higher trainings, because the renunciation is not shared in common with the other vehicles, the other religious traditions.
다 집이 종을 코아 그 동에 신도 차를 내받은 정도 말이나 내손 속에 동에 내받은 정도 줄로 지나서 내손 손도 자고 있지 말이야.
Lessa.
내손 손지 동에 내받은 정도 상봐. 뭐 단데 잘안 되고도.
Tuchena. Denge Chua.
Yeah.
So Rinpoche, I had a question, Rinpoche just answered it. So what can we say about the being of small capacity then? When we are speaking of this. Although the being of small capacity does not renounce cyclic existence altogether, he or she still renounces the three lower realms of cyclic existence. So that type of renunciation is still exclusive to the Buddhist tradition, And we can say that their practice within these trainings, if focused on being free from the lower realms, will produce the higher realm rebirth, and that is exclusive to the Buddhist tradition. Not that the higher realm rebirth is not what is exclusive, it's the actual causal factors for it.
Chirinji lava ta tingenzi lava ta jenda kangal yoare tingenzi ngweshi tuken ne shiriba yoare ta tingenzi lava shiriba le labe ne tingenzi lava ta kaso toni la mibi tingenzi ta demba ni la mibi tingenzi ta demba jila mibi tingenzi la suba o tari chane ja yona ane chulo jenda ki tingenzi le laba re ndos.
So in moving from ethical behavior to concentration, other religious traditions, of course, have concentration and concentration levels. So what is exclusive? Why is this called the highest higher training in concentration? And the reason is that the concentration uses as its object of observation emptiness and the nature of reality. The focus of the concentration can be on the two truths of ultimate and conventional, or the Four Noble Truths. So these types of concentration, these objects of observation, are exclusive to the Buddhist tradition, and this is why this particular kind of concentration is called the highest higher training.
Oje ta shiroji laba deya tene demba ni da demba je toni tu bi shiro sin jana an chulo jendal yoje maro chulo jendal labi shiro re no jiro.
So, and then last, the highest higher training in wisdom is similar to the explanation before. There is the wisdom realizing emptiness within the Buddhist tradition that is exclusive to the Buddhist tradition. The wisdom recognizing the two truths, the wisdom that realizes the Four Noble Truths. So these types of wisdom are exclusive to the Buddhist tradition, and this is why this particular type of wisdom, or these types of wisdom, are called highest higher trainings in wisdom.
Tene so ta nga so churin labi chud chin sabres ta niba de labi dengan je labi chud le o tenen rodio ares marba labi dengan je labi chud la ane don senam ni yung dos roba dengan je meba ngwe yung mares ngwe sana tene ngwe se lo tu de ngwe ya shu de sanji lu ares. Tene niba na de shangju semba tsuliyo jiris somba beji teme ba jeba da susu ju tsuliyo jirwa da ane nguen shese jikar sukura jenji sen sheba la suba odane tengenzi gu ne ane gansan tengenzi nyoba tse toba le suna ane jenji sen sheya jewa ngama mabu shewa ya shema mabu sheya odane ke tarinbe zu tunga odane ke nguen shese yunga yuwaris marbe Tingenzi meba ngwashi yunga yo maris. Tingenzi ke jushe bala tene ngwashi dungu res. Tingenzi meba ngwashi yungu maris. Ngwashi de yunga la yenji meji tingenzi gongu shamata ngodu dungu res. Shamata ke jushe bala tene ane ngwashi yungu res. Ngwashi mena ane yenji donda jashi unru tuk maris. Ngwashi yona jenga donda jachi bundu tuguris sonji ge jendon jachi bundu bade ane be sonji la jema ji ngwashi de byu dabu yozan ane jenga donda ane byu dabu yongores ane shangju samba zul beji rin yongore temen sul tamazma du yongore marwa wade jenji don rubala ngwashi gugures ngwashi mena jendon yongmares wade sen yin yondus.
So there are two explanations, or two things that are pointed out that leads one to recognize the importance of concentration, or of single-pointed concentration. And one is that it's impossible to achieve clairvoyance without single-pointed concentration. And there are various levels of clairvoyance. When we speak of clairvoyance, there are many different kinds. The best kind of clairvoyance is the clairvoyance of an all-knowing being, or a Buddha. This is the highest level of clairvoyance that one could achieve. And the second highest level might be that of a bodhisattva, superior, the level of clairvoyance that he or she would have. And the third level of clairvoyance, or the third least potent kind of clairvoyance, would be that of a lesser vehicle superior. And then maybe we could say the fourth level would be that of an ordinary being who is not a superior, who has clairvoyance. When understanding this, why does one want to have clairvoyance? What's the point of this? If one has clairvoyance, he or she could understand other people's minds, understand the past lives and future lives, could see into the past and future, could see very, very far into the past or very far into the future. But the ability to really see the more subtle details of the past and future depends upon the level of achievement of realization. So that goes back to the highest level of clairvoyance. The being who could see is an all-knowing being, is the Buddha. Second being Bodhisattva, third lesser vehicle, Arya, and a fourth being an ordinary being. So if one can understand all of these things, then he or she can truly fulfill the needs of others, because he or she will know what they truly need. Without clairvoyance and without this subtle type of mind, it's impossible to know what other beings really need, and it's impossible to know how to lead them to their goals. So this is why it is so important to achieve single-pointed concentration, because clairvoyance is dependent upon single-pointed concentration. Independence upon single-pointed concentration, the result of clairvoyance can be produced. Without single-pointed concentration, clairvoyance cannot be produced. And this is why a Buddha has the highest level of clairvoyance. It's because he or she recognizes the need for it and the need to be able to see all of these things in order to know how to help others.
Bananga Sanjay Shinjo to Jagal and the Lojacho, Chinda Beijing's Lojacho, Jaju Jibajuaris, and the Kon Lojacho Lane, calling Ebanjone, Tanga Beji, Natabaji, Gulundu Wundus, and the Kusan Kubaris, then the Conchine, Shariba Kunil Sugar Chimbaris, Tanga Kuala, and the Nebanjo, and the Karasuka. Rodushungi, Tabajigis, Galungudumalangis, Shuares, Shudu, the Sharib Mwashik Tower, Sharib Mwashi Yuaris, Mwashik Tadu, and then Kula Karsugure, Choron, and Rodushunagi, Governmentos, Natungumentos, Ne, Tayinson, and Choro Rodushun and Jigamari, Tabajin Jigamundos, Sharibege, and the Kokajavares, Kadula, Takon Samba June. 다 나 배치 신나마도 다 지금 말해서는 안에 최초지 리베지윤저로 추가지네 춘 중화살 코버스 어산 공원도 사지 무엇이 제는 라서 사지 대배버스 저 가르지고요 버스 가르진 주죠 안는 나 샤리벌 로드 종루지스 슈가치메 샤리비 안주노 잡아지야 고함도스 대인소도 저 잡아지는 지금 말해서 간나오는 나 배지 시기 이상방에서 알코송스 안는 사지 가지 말이 주로 잡아지야게 로드 종 고와요 아레스 네 안는 사지 공 안에 로드 종거레스
라서 네 탐체
what gazade Chinda Beijing Rodjun Gwadbe Tarim and Chudenjil Gorajia Gawajuaris. What the Tuta Jiraga Tarim do, Sharibi Mwashik the Tonto Maris, Sanji Mwashik the Tomaris. What is this?
Then a Sharipu the Teme.
And then Sharibu got that Temes, that's Hanji Mwashi Mai, Sharibi Mwashi Matombi, and then Nasu Mobish Hanji Mwashi Tonguris, Sanji Mwashi the Ajuris, Amishuris.
So, where is there an illustration of these powers, of the different levels of power of clairvoyance? There is a story during the time of Buddha where an old man wished to be ordained. And he was 80 years old. and he went to Shariputra, one of Buddha's root disciples, and said to him, please, Shariputra, I wish to go forth from this world. I have renounced cyclic existence, and based on that renunciation, I wish to become a monk. I wish to be ordained. And Shariputra, through his clairvoyance, looked very carefully and said, I am sorry, I cannot ordain you. You don't have enough virtue within your continuum to make it useful, and at your age, it really won't help you in any way to become ordained. So at that point, the old man became very sad and said, I find no use for this life then. I'm going to go down to the river and take my own life. So he went to the river because he felt like there was no use in living anymore, because he saw the downfalls of the world he lived in cyclic existence, and wished to definitely get out of it. And his path, he believed, was to go forth, which is the literal translation of becoming ordained, going forth. So if I say that, that means becoming ordained. It's more literal. So he was about to commit suicide, about to take his own life and drown himself in the river, knowing that he couldn't swim. And quickly, Buddha arrived out of nowhere and said to the man, why are you doing this? Why are you so sad? Why are you depressed? He could see that the man's mind was very, very sad. And the old man told him the story that I have gone to your disciple Shariputra and asked him to ordain me. And he told me that I don't have enough virtue, and that it will be of no use or benefit for me to be ordained. And the Buddha said, this is nonsense. I will ordain you. I recognize that you do have enough virtue, and it will be beneficial for you to become ordained. So why is this? Why would the Buddha go against what Shariputra believed to be so? What is the difference here? Shariputra was a practitioner of the lesser vehicle, and he did not have the same level of clairvoyance as the Buddha. He was not able to see something that happened very, very far in distant past lives of this old man's continuum. The Buddha recognized that a very, very long time ago, he was an animal and was chasing something and circumambulated a stupa, circumambulated a religious building. And by doing this, that one act created the virtue for that life to be beneficial for him to be ordained. And the Buddha could see this, and the Buddha could recognize this because he was able to know all things, whereas Shariputra, although Shariputra was a superior and was a superior, he was not able to see the same thing as Buddha. Shariputra was a foe destroyer at the time. So this is the difference in potency of clairvoyance between a Buddha and a lesser vehicle foe destroyer, as illustrated in the story of the old man who wished to be ordained. So if one wishes to fulfill the needs of others, it's so important to have clairvoyance. It's almost impossible to fulfill others' needs without clairvoyance.
어제 다 띵해지 매번 다 뭐시도 용화를 띵해지 고그랬어. 띵해지 매번 뭐시 용고마. 띵해지 공부를 되네. 안에 뭐시 용고그랬어. 다 사진이 도와 띵해지 매번 뭐시 문루스. 띵해지 매번 뭐시 용고마레스. 안에 뭐시도 띵해지 되버레스. 띵해지 뭐시 줘레스. 주면은 되버 용고마레스. What does it mean? 띵해지 매번 뭐시 문루. 뭐시 맨날 쟁거 된다 자주 용고마레스. 얘네 자주 시도 고마레스.
So this is the first reason given for the importance of single-pointed concentration, the fact that it's necessary to have clairvoyance to fulfill the needs of others. Clairvoyance is dependent upon single-pointed concentration. All causes are dependent upon their all results are dependent upon their causes. The result here being the clairvoyance, the causal factor for that clairvoyance, single-pointed concentration. So this is in the commentary, the first reason given for the importance of single-pointed concentration. It's so that one can produce the causal factors for the clairvoyance, which will allow him or her to fulfill the needs of others.
다 랑전 자와 제나 랑전 그 자와 되네 손주 소질 문제 손주 소질네 고도 인치 되나 안거 손주 소질
34.
타티보 34 lampa English
Dead school. Gangin suna the buke dang NGK chipa ngedagin. Rinpoche, de gare, de ngapchu, jipchu.
네 지주로 지주
지주.
지주를 nga주래
네,
nga주래 네 노데
Okay. Tu chena. De ken sabudu.
네 나도
De peik. De je dang drapo. NGK de je dang drapo.
나바래
Okay. Sunam yeshe jrom.
선아 예시라지 촌는 조바이 준의 상제 타제다 응시 제반이 되지
NGK chipa.
선아 예시라지 제 선한 거 초다 예시가 초세요 선아 예시라지 촌는 조바이 준의 상제 타제다 응시 제반이 되지 응시 제바 안에 가서 선아 예시라지 촌는 조바이 준의 상제 타제다 응시 제반이 되지
Lasso.
ngāshē jīpa nīndu jī sāngwān dīla kārzu kore sōnā yīshē rāngshē jī tsū nā yōngsū dzūpa yī jū na sāngshē ngāshē jīpa nīndu jī ngāshē dā jō sōnā kā tsū nā yīshē kā tsū tīngā jī gōngpa lī tēnā yōngu kore sī tā tēnā kō yīshē rā wā dā.
So, we've arrived at 34. Here it says, all Buddhas say the cause for the completion of collections, whose nature is merit and exalted wisdom, is the development of higher perception. So here, higher perception, let me just see. Ngushe. Okay, so higher perception here refers to clairvoyance. It's the same word, they're just translating it as higher perception. I'm translating it as clairvoyance. So it's in Tibetan, it's the same word. So all Buddhas say that the cause for the completion of the collections. Here, collections refers to the two collections that are necessary in order to become a Buddha, the collection of merit and the collection of exalted wisdom. Both of these are necessary. So here, it speaks of the necessity of developing clairvoyance in order to really achieve in full the collection of merit and the collection of exalted wisdom, because so much is dependent upon that clairvoyance in order to achieve these two collections that are necessary to have in order to become fully enlightened.
다 손주 성하러 손주 성하들래 뻔한 가서 쇼 보고 제중요로 쇼 보고 제중들래 하나 그가 쇼바데 쇼 보고 제주들 쇼바스고 그러사 늘
Goose.
goose 서로봐
Wings.
왠지 마진의 딘도 말어 왠지 저손도 그 딘도 그러와
Ale, shoot wings.
근데 원시 요ken 그 상주 생바던 원시 매비 상주 생바제나 안에 원시 요비 상주 생바되기 연구 된시바 나진 원시 매비 상주 생바되기 안에 연구시 도 말이스 제단 다수 마제비 산 칼라프면 대신 원시 다저이 생전 되지 네바미스 제단 다수 마제비 버자로 버 제다드 뻔한 example 다수 마제비 샤드 칼라프토고도 왔어 대나진 원시 매비 상주 생바되기 원시 요비 상주 생바주기 연구시바 나진지 셰도고 말이스 원시 요비 상주 생바주기 연구자 처분 그래 원시 매비 상주 생바주기 대장 연구시도 말이스 어때 된도서 대단 다수 마제비 샤드 칼라프면 대신 원시 다데 세전되지 네바미스 제다 example 와 다수 마제비 샤드 칼라프토고 말이스
The yapo yomare.
쇼바데 야보면나 나칼딘 두
The
말이스
tamche la tugin.
원시 야보 연의 쟁거 된시도 그래 원시 야보면은 쟁도 용 말이스 어때 된도 그래
So number 35, it says, just as a bird with undeveloped wings cannot fly in the sky, those without the power of higher perception cannot work for the good of living beings. So here, this speaks of clairvoyance and the importance of clairvoyance. And if we talk about two kinds of bodhisattvas who have clairvoyance, and bodhisattvas who do not have clairvoyance. The bodhisattvas with the clairvoyance are able to work for the good of living beings in much greater capacity than a bodhisattva who does not have clairvoyance. So when it says work for the good of living beings, that means basically fulfilling the needs of other living beings, or fulfilling all the needs of other living beings. So here it points out how much more powerful and how much more potential a bodhisattva with clairvoyance has than a bodhisattva without clairvoyance.
다들 이슈 따로바들 뭐시 대비 년생제 소나다는 강인데 뭐시 다선 대줄을 좋아자 요마이스 당원시 예비 상주 상바들이 년생지 원데 안에 제가 되셔 고와사샤바데 안에 드나지 뭐시 매바들이 좋아자래 요마레스 좋아자 안에 next life born 100,000 le 요마레스 야 뭐시 대비 뭐 말해 뭐시 대비 년생제 뭐시 대비 년생제 소나다는 강인데 뭐시 다선 대줄라 좋아자 요마이스
자 오케이
뭐시 여경게는 상주 상바들이 연구 된시바 고와사샤바데 년생지래 원데서 그러봐 년생지를 고와사샤바데 뭐시 매비 안에 상주 상바들 저쪽에 좋아자래 요마레스 안에 가서 한 핸드폰
100 lifetimes.
대 용도 말해서 어디서 그래
So number 36 says, the merit gained in a single day by one who possesses higher perception cannot be gained even in 100 lifetimes by one without such higher perception. So here, this means that a being who has this type of clairvoyance can truly fulfill the needs of others. And because of this, the merit that they can gain in just one day is more than the merit that a non-clairvoyant can gain in 100 rebirths. So all of the merit that one could gain in all of the days of all of 100 rebirths is not even as much as the merit gained in one single day of bodhisattva with clairvoyance.
다때는 손주 수녀로 손주 수녀들 녀도 주비 상주 초 용수 주반 되죠 봐 되네 베지 뭐시 다 로버는 줘지 레루미스 안에 녀도 주비 상주 초 용수 주반 되죠 봐스 안에 소나다 이제 차지 고문 도발라 담부 상주 주도 생지 봐도 깨바 담면서 초사네 소나다 이제 그 초사는 상제고 그래서 안에 개바 담아서도 초마사가 사제도 말했어. 안에 가서 그래. 소나다 이제 그 조부사는 상제부 제약은 여봐 있나? 되네. 매제 뭐시다. 로바 주제스. 안에 뭐시 dro는 뭐시도 로바 있나? 소나다 이제 그 조부 조용 그래서 상제 공부 조부도 그래서 안에 뭐시 dro는 뭐시데 줄 맞이바 있나? 소나다 이제 그 조부 사도 말해. 소나다 이제 그 조부 사마도 봐 있나? 상제부제 도 말해서 어디 손으로 말해. 녀도 주비 상주 조 용수 주반 되죠 바스. 소나다 이제 그 조부 조네 상제 살로야 근데 여봐 있나?
Less
뭐시 그래서 뭐시도 로토바 있나? 안에 소나다 이제 그 조도 야부 용 그래서 용수 주반 되죠 봐. 되네 여봐 있나? 대내서 너바 여기 되게 너바 여봐 있나? 너바 여비 메데 너바 여비 하데 너바 여비 가자데 생주비데 안에 베지 뭐시 다스 뭐시 등하고 다시 제고레스 되네 베지 뭐시 다 루바조지스 뭐시 되나 되네 소노데 이제 주부 용 그래서 루바조지스 레로진 대바 있는 것이 용어 말해서 너무 좋다 이거 좋네 사지 공주 도바 용어 말해서
Less
로반지 레로 미스 오 당에 띵에서 가서 레로진에 띵에서 마고바지 안는 것이 마루바 있나 것이 누구 말해 대마루나 소노다 이거 주부사도 말해 상주부제도 말해서 상제부 주부제하고 도바 여바다 소노다 이거 주부 안에 조부 조약이 안에 되어 여봐이나 근데 뭐시 등에 봐도 조고레스.
Lesser.
레로제는 용마레스.
Lesser.
What does it mean?
Those who want swiftly to complete the collections for full enlightenment will accomplish higher perception through effort, not through laziness. So here it speaks of the importance of clairvoyance if one wants to quickly achieve Buddhahood. So here when the enlightenment that is being spoken of is the unsurpassable, true, complete enlightenment of a Buddha. So if one wishes to quickly or swiftly complete the collections, and here the collections refer to the collection of merit and the collection of exalted wisdom. So if one wants to quickly get those collections, which are necessary in order to become a Buddha, it's very important to achieve clairvoyance. So if somebody wants to be able to fulfill the needs of all different types of sentient beings, the gods and the humans and the various types of sentient beings, then it's necessary to have this type of clairvoyance, and by doing so, one can fulfill the two collections swiftly. So this is what it's speaking of here. But if one is very lazy, it's impossible to be able to achieve these states. It's necessary to make a concerted effort, to have perseverance in order to achieve clairvoyance, in order to achieve these various collections. So one needs to have perseverance and not be lazy in order to achieve the clairvoyance which will make that being swiftly achieve his or her aims through the process of achieving the two collections.
다도 선나다 이제 주부 주는 사지 구분도 안 되고 여바되게 뭐시 두고가 이나 안는 뭐시 간다스 두고래 뭐시 주가래 가르고 그래 가르고는 뭐시 제거래 가르마고는 뭐시 제거 말해서 대바이나 신의 공부르스 신의 공부를 되는 것이 용구르스 신의 매나 뭐시 용고 말해 등에는 매나 뭐시 용고 말해서 대 손주 서지 되게 되는 도와 다디에도 말봐 신의 연락 신의 조바 많이 봤어. 신의서나 샤마타로. 신의 샤마타. 안 신의서나다 샤마타 어디버와. 신의 조바 많이 배. 신의 동원식 주레스. 신의데 샤마타 동원식 주레. 동원식 주 신의데 샤마타 매나 동원식 용고 말레스. 나주 신기 손에도 매나 안 신제고 뭐 도와스. 대나지 신의 매나 동원식 용고 말레스. 신의 조바 많이 배. 동원식 조바 문주스. 신의 동원식 주래 신의 줄 맞이나 원시 용어 말스 신의 원시 제발은 신의 공고르스 신의 조바 마이베 원시 조바 먼저 대셔 신의 조비셔 양나야도 배워샤스 신의 조비셔 안 담부 신의 아부 공고르스 샤마타데 아부 조선의 갈레갈레 되는 원시 용고르스 샤마타데 아부 마조나 원시 용어 말스 어디 되는 사마르바
The Shin Gitsun got it. The Sik Chi the Shingame. The Ngama the Shin Gitsun.
된대로 밤하면은 보고 용어도 와. 밤하면은 no press no
children. The Shin Gari Lobsang.
신 주면은 신 용어도 와. 시 그라운드 메나 신 용어도 와.
Sik Gari Lobsang Lama.
신 순으로다.
Sun Donagare.
C tree C.
Supun.
C.
Seed.
Flower seed, corn seed, rice seed, tree seed, zero. Sing seed salta, sadno chodon ga tsuna shije yungdo wa. De mena shije gmara. Shene mena ngo shije gmara. Shene ngores.
The sik chi the shin.
Yeah, okay.
The shin it soon.
Shin pujar jibare da. Pama mena bogo yungdo was. Shene mena ngo shije yungdo mara. What does one is that?
Okay. I was trying to find out the meaning of one word. Without the attainment of calm abiding, higher perception will not occur. Therefore, make repeated effort to accomplish calm abiding. Calm abiding is shamatha, for people who are more familiar with that word. So if one needs to practice shamatha, to practice calm abiding in order to achieve the state of clairvoyance, Because without calm abiding, and without single-pointed concentration, it's impossible to achieve the state of clairvoyance. So it's necessary to have the causal factors of clairvoyance in order for it to occur. As we said before, all effects are dependent upon their causes. In order for a child to be born, he or she must have parents who engage in an intercourse that produces a child. In order for, in order for a tree to grow, there must be a seed, and there must be all of the other factors present in order for the tree to sprout. Likewise, in order to produce in order to produce clairvoyance or higher perception, as it states in here, it's necessary to have calm abiding and single-pointed concentration.
ane yane yandu gongu res, shene ke jusu jokunga tsangu gone, ane yane yandu shene du gomba yina, ane shene juli che sona, ane gale tene ngonshi yungu res. Te yin sosan tambo shene du juli chebe che to, yane yandu meba shagu res, jun remu gongu rema du che akale kabu res.
So, it's necessary, though, in order to achieve this state, it's necessary to practice calm abiding again and again and again. You must do it, very slowly over a long period of time. This is not something that's going to happen very quickly. There must be a consistent, concerted effort in order to achieve this state. And this meditation or familiarization needs to be done again and again and again.
다 더신이 왔더라. 신의 조바 마이마 무슨 조바 먼저라. 대신 신의 나 조비 싫어 하나야 좀 배바샤스. 다더네 다니 손주 속으로 와. 신의 연라 나냐 배라도 배도 공시자 론 동자다게 된진 조바 먼저로스. 신의 연라 신의 그 주투 안에 신의 그 주투 안에 차차와 shene ke jutu su ngalo ane ngone drone ke shene ke jutu pida bu gores cha chang gores shene ke jutu nga ya bu ma cha na ane shene yon la na nya be ju ma cha na ju nya ne gro ju ma cha na ane ra dum be de gong she ja lun dong zha de ge de de ro mo ju ro lo dong zha gong ba yin nan ding gen ji jia ka le ka bu res ding gen ji jia ge ju nga chang gu ro ma do ju ma chang na ga ji gong je ge mo do wa xin ge ju cha zong ma chang na xin je ge mo do wa ane xin ge ju ma chang na lo dong zha mo bu le xin je ge ma ro wa xin ge ju su chang song na lo ji le je ge ni le je mo do wa xin ge ju su ma chang na lo dong zha le xin je ge ma ro wa xin ne ge ju su ma chang na de ne 라돈베도 공시지 로동차 다게장 딩겐 루아 카보레스 딩겐 루발라 딩겐 그 죽가 창고레스 사상와다 조상와 내상와자다 어떤 그 전에 그 주수가 창고레스 전에 그 주수 마사나 전에 용고 마레스 어떤 인사
39 While the conditions for calm abiding are incomplete, meditative stabilization will not be accomplished, even if one meditates strenuously for thousands of years. So if the causal factors are not there, if there is something missing from the formula, it's not possible to achieve the state of calm abiding. It's not possible to achieve the state of meditative stabilization or single-pointed concentration. And it says here, even if one meditates strenuously for thousands of years, if the meditation is incorrect, then it doesn't matter how long you do it. It will not produce the result of calm abiding. It will not produce meditative stabilization. Likewise, if one plants a seed and all the causal factors are there and everything that's necessary is there, in a couple of years you'll probably have a sprout and a tree will come. But if there is something missing, if the causal factors are not there, if you left a seed there for 1,000 years and waited, there wouldn't be a tree that would sprout. There would be no sprout. Likewise, if the causal factors for the state of calm abiding or meditative stabilization are not present, then the meditative stabilization being the result of that cannot be produced.
What the Angajuju Tisha, Tenzin to Lule, Sumbi and La Lene, Meba Karon Chitala in Galajabajas, what the Marba, that thing is the contest. Tisha, Tenzin to Lules, things the Gumbi Luz, Haji Sundan, and Sangatan, and the Jaga Kibi Jon to Sule, and the Shene the Gumbi to Sonja Waris, Tisha, Tenzin to Lule, Sumbi and La Lene. Meba karon chitala yin gala shabashas and meba chila minen tingas gongures.
So here, thus maintaining well the conditions mentioned in the collection of meditative stabilization chapter, place the mind on any one virtuous focal object. So here, this is advice that is given, we can find from the great Indian scholars, the great Pandits, Asanga, and so forth, in the stages of meditation, stages of familiarization. We can find many references to this, and this is saying use one object, any one, virtuous focal object. So it's using an object of observation that is the same every time, and placing your mind single-pointedly, or placing your mind solely on that virtuous object. So this is advice that has been passed down.
That thing is a concept that meba kasa. That Juji in the Katu, Meba Karon Chitala in the Gila Javashas, Dingens in Gombi Meba del Cheka Yomaris, Dingens in Gonkange, and then Nanjuba de Susun Dobaris, Kashi Hal Gombi, Hal Mini Dingens Goan Dobayoaris, Kashi Sanjila Mini Dobayoaris, and the Kashi Onjongo. O Patan Satan, Tendel Gone, Dingens Gonan degrees, Kashi get and the Karsagure, and then Yokabon Ratan, or Tendel Mine. 다 간데 띵은스 공해데 미바 공해데 되바레 체요 말스 미발 체가요 말스 간데 미바 질네 센데 가르서 그래 비다보 네네 야네야도 공고래서 인사래
That's cool. Hallelujah.
Nataba Shishediado, Derendo, Miba Karon Chitala, in Galaja.
Gewa.
Gawala Javajas.
The indicated Gewa, you're right. Okay. Thus, maintaining well the conditions mentioned in the collection of meditative stabilization chapter, place the mind on any one virtuous focal object. So here, this is saying any one virtuous object, but it's not specific about what that virtuous object is. And the reason for that is people have different kind of affinities. Some people like to, or have more of a connection with deities, or various deities that they want to use as their object of observation. Some use light or the breath, meditating upon the breath in order to achieve meditative stabilization and single-pointed concentration. Others might use various light rays coming in the nostrils that would be, translators note, useful for future practices. So meditating upon the light rays in the nostrils single-pointedly. So here it doesn't matter what the object of observation is, it only specifies that it should be virtuous. Then okay.
Oje, Tatane Kasagore. Takante Tingas Gongina, Tat Tingas Thomas Gondula, Meba Karla Mini Gona Susun Dobares, and Tingan Su Goya, Meba Chila Mini Gongores, the Genda and Davan Mabugomba in there, Su Meba, Tomba Meba Karla Mini, Hala Mini Goyona, and the Shingan Tingas Jula Majiba to Hak Jamba Gongores. Young Lagon, this and Damaragona, and Dingens Julia Chegos Maris. In the own Jongolmena Gomba ina, own Jongonte, Jamba Gongos, that is. Then the Karsa, Dosha Shejawa ina, Maduba Goya, and the Contra Shejawa in the Shamba Goya, or the Momorota, Susukan Dubai, that is.
So, as far as object of observation goes, one should keep it the same object of observation, whether it's a deity or whether it's a specific kind of meditation, if it's an analytical meditation one is trying to do on impurity to fight or to use it as an antidote for attachment, or if one is using love to serve as an antidote for hatred. All of these things can be objects of observation because people have different propensities. People have different affinities or problems with negativities or problems with affliction. So those who have a very strong amount of hatred or one of the poisons, it would be more useful them to achieve a single-pointed love concentration than others who might have a bigger problem with something else. So this is why it is not specific.
어제 다더네 가서 nenju shene 조주나 뭐시 다정 로번주스 nenju 봐 shene 공캔데 shene 야부 중소나 샤마다 야부 중소나 아니 뭐시 용거스 뭐시 다정 로번주스 말봐 nenju shene 조주나 뭐시 다정 로번주스 shene 동뭐시 주로와 shene 야부 중소나 뭐시 용거스 what does it mean?
In number 41, I'm just going to read 2 lines. When the practitioner has gained calm abiding, higher perception will also be gained. So here, the causal factor of the clairvoyance or higher perception we can see is the calm abiding. So here it's stating once one gets the calm abiding or achieves the realization of calm abiding, then higher perception will also be gained because it's, the causal factor is complete.
어제 다들 마시네 매번 것이 뭐로 드르비셔도 시네 론 동다다게 이제 두번 먼저로서 다들 대시제 주제 뒤에 되는 솔로레 손비스 된제 솔로레 손비 라나라 레버네네 돌레 손비 매바가로 지달라 민데 이네 예도 메와 기 나라 잡으셔오사 얘는 글라자버샤 대답이 주지 내주버 강하기 신에 로바존나 뭐시 다장 뭐시 당 라통 다장 로바주로사 유 신에 개초사 대나 신에 루주 도되는 초된바다 안에 뭐 공부하고사 초된주 모두 지나야 이제 주진 나바다베 뭐네 돈용화 샤와용화스 다시 내가 주초서 그렇다 주초 내가 초서야데 내가 주초 안에 손순 담으로 뭐도스 내가 주초로 봐 번능 아주 신지 따바이나 신그 순고고도 신그 순지 근데 사고고도 초고고도 류고고도 됐다나 아니 신동 제공도 말베 대나지 신내도 줄이 제발아야 사도 주도 류라버게 주소 뭐 창고르스 콘제버스 주산나 제그레 주마선 제그 말스 what is that 제네 주소 창고르스.
So here it's if the causal factor isn't present as spoken before, then the meditative stabilization can't be accomplished. So it's not possible to attain calm abiding. It's not possible to achieve special insight, which is a cause, is an effect of this calm abiding and single-pointed concentration. So we can see the necessity of having the causal factors. If one wants to have a tree, the tree doesn't just appear. A tree needs to have a seed. If the seed is there, a tree can come as long as it's planted in the ground, and as long as it's watered, and as long as there's sun, and as long as there's fertilizer, then one will see a tree sooner or later because the causal factors are present. But if the causal factor is not present, a tree will not be produced. So this is why it's important to achieve these states of concentration and to practice these forms of concentration in order to produce their results. Rinpoche, the Chikshena de Kamala Shila dang Hashan, Dasi dang, the Chikshena Konsu de Gabu, and then called the Shaji Gabudu.
Okay.
Chikshena de Pentodu. Gangisena de Tering, the Mambo Lasso. Konsu de Kalikabudu. Okay, so what Rinpoche was saying is, previously in the last class we went over things that were mentioned by the great master Maitreya in the Mahayana Sutra Alamkara, the ornament for the Mahayana Sutra, where there were various factors that are necessary in order to achieve the state of single-pointed concentration. It was necessary to be in a good place where there weren't any environmental dangers, where there weren't any wild animals or things that could harm one, where the water was clean and pure so that there was something to drink, and where the friends that one surrounded themselves with were good friends, were spiritual friends, or Dharma friends. So it's important, as mentioned in the Mahayana Sutra Alamkara and various other sources, for the environment and the inhabitants within it to be conducive to your achievement of single-pointed concentration.
What the name is that the machine you do that not to what the legend on Naga shit here doing Jamal Shega.
So would folks like to hear questions? Would like to have questions, answers? Would you like them to go further in the text? Do you want to hear? I'd like to hear the story of the great debate, but what would people like to hear? Story?
Hear the story and also just a brief explanation of the conditions for calm abiding.
Oh, the ones in the Mahayana Sutra Alamkara.
Right.
I'll go over it again because he said everything. The Dode Jen, the Layana Gatsudua, the Sacha Yapo, the Sazangwa, good place. Okay.
Chuzangwa. Good water. Sazangwa, Chuzangwa, Nezangwa. Nezangwa,
harmful in spirit.
Never use such a name as on is. Never never till then Chibo, she now never in the Nezangwa. And what is a good thought, sing it down, to drew down. And G. Nobody can what the name as on what is. The maybe Nezangwa.
Soon.
Chuzangwa.
Oh, trouble.
Friend.
Okay, digger. So in the Mahayana Sutra Alamkara, Maitreya's ornament for the Mahayana Sutra, do you need to put that in? You were putting something up. Okay. In Maitreya's ornament for the Mahayana Sutra, it speaks of conditions that are necessary. The place should be a good place that's quiet and somewhere that one can meditate appropriately. The water should be good. It should be somewhere that you can drink the water so that one can be replenished. There shouldn't be inhabitants that are harmful, whether they are human or non-humans. It needs to be in a place where there aren't wild animals such as lions, tigers, bears, and snakes that could harm someone, where you could have fear in your mind, so that wouldn't be helpful. So a place that doesn't have those. And one should be surrounded by Dharma friends, spiritual friends. One should always have those types of people around you and not others in order to achieve that state. Those four.
What the most on but
But at the root of this, ethical behavior is the most important. It says everywhere that one can find in all the sources that it's necessary to first have as the foundation the ethical behavior.
Anji lekha ramana mabu jena sen sandu ramana mabu kongre tingenzu gongtu marwa tenda nyuwa tenda moa ina tingenzu gongtu mares ane shawa moa ina tingenzu gongtu mar tenda nyuwa shawa nyuwa ina
shawa nyuwa donda gare
lekha jeya nyunyu
donda nyuwa gare
tenda tanga su tenda mabu yora
chik leka
chong lekha tang ramana mabu yora chongja tang or the Zija, Maja, or the Lekana Mobajeva ina, Kusen Salmo, Kusen Zilnea Kalika, don't you?
So it's necessary, though, also not to engage in lots of activities. If one has the foundation of the ethical behavior, it's necessary also not to engage in a lot of work and a lot of activities, because this can make the mind very distracted when one is engaged in activities. If one is working and doing this and doing divinations, Rinpoche said, and engaging oneself in all of these different kinds of practices, then this is a distraction. And it makes it so the mind becomes busy, and it does not allow for single-pointed concentration to be produced. Then Rinpoche Khensur Segudu the Khensur the story go, the Jataka dang Drabodu, the Kamala Shila, the Dasi dang, Khensur story Loju go. Gangisin a Tanda Khensur Detsi Kalikasa, then me sum jik this Loju go lapsa. Khensur de Gabudu lapsa. Gangisin a Kasang, Natsu Segadu, the Dasi dang, Gemalagare, then Khensur de go.
What the Loju Habudu?
Okay. One moment. He's going to tell a story.
That Loju Shiva Ina, Loju Shiva Ina, and the Sanji Jin Shabu doing to Amatons waters. Sanji Shajaman Buddha, Jin Shabu doing to Amatons waters. Amashene, Ama the Hayul just wants La. Hayul, which is Chenrezig the Indo. Haljeris. Haljedul, and the Sanji to Jil, Ama Garisa Vishi to Sanji Hayul papers. Hayul Peduta, Mushi dan Jutu can shoes. Jutu man to Tuma, Nakal Putu Marwa, now do your Marwa, and the Jutu and Nakal Punurwa. That Jutu can get that Dajumba in a Galon in a Mangana Karina, and the Sanji Yandul Hayul Juturwa. Then Kashi get in it, that's Haji Yandulia, Hayul Jobala, Juju Marwa. Chenjil things go on the Juju tongue and what the Jungores. Juju toes at the Shana, Nakan to the Hayul Jutuaris, and the Sanji dan, Galon Mata, Galon dan, or to the Hayul Lepiji, the Hasun Yag Hayul Shuaris, Hayul. Hayul Shu, and Sanji Kon Ama, Yagichi Urwa, or the Nuguluju Yoris. Hama in a sona chabin to Shabachil, things going to Jutoya or the new Yosaris. Sanjing also high doors, Kashik Tagon, things going to Jutu to the Sony Portuguese, Nagal Port.
Then Gare, and Sanjay the Hlayula Peson, then Garage.
Sanjay Ama Hayul Cheoris.
Hakuson. The Tamche, then I got it.
That's Sanjay Amad. And the Pendo Vicheto, and the Sanji Hayul paper. And Sanji Hayul pay on do, and the Jutu can Mangananakalo, shows, and then also Hayul draws, Yan Dawson, and Hayul Tigris, Dawson. Jutu men and Jotu Marwa. And the Galung down, then the Kashige, Chenjil thing as a one, Jutu toys, and the Sanji Yandul, Hayul, Shadino, Jotu waters.
Then the Sanjay Ama Garinang Garichegu, Sanjay dang Gelong dang the Ngama the Tomason. Then the Sanjay dang Gelong dang Dajumba, Hlayula Pesoen.
What a Hayul pay. That's Sanjay Hayul pay.
Dawasum.
Zutu you can go Hayul pay.
Zutu you can, Gare, Zutu don't gare.
Mushi not Zutu says Jurwa. Zutu is not Zutu Tovaina. Shati no Nakal Putu.
Oh, okay.
Nakal Rutu.
Swiftfoot.
Saul Rutu, Chunol Rutu.
Zutu, okay.
Mushi dan, things what the Abbot Jonsuna, and Zutu Yungus, Zutu and Nakal.
Then Dawasum don't Garshani Dawasum.
Nagasum, Dawasum has a remote Yan Dawasum, Yakal, Traverse Dawasum, Yanes, Digmudi.
Yarne, Hakusan.
Gomanolo did. And Pushat de Woden de Woden Dawson, Yan Dawson, Galunda, Galomazo, Dawson, Yakale, Yanes,
Yarne, Hakusan.
Ya Gaye, Sujons, Yaji, Gayeji, Sujon, Son Jason, Mong Nan Sol Son, Jason Sugar, Sujon Soya, Debataya.
Lesser.
Tene ya neba, da sung gari de mesi ge maganan ko ruje ne, hama jagali na jabat jinda jene, jabat an ko te perunas, and da sung de bale shosa kambate, and ko de bashu, bachate gunjo de ruje de wa. On the da sung saji de layul de lojil.
Then Daosum, the dude there, Khensur the Hlayula Pes.
Saji layul pe, da
The
sung
Yarnet.
yarnet.
Daosum. Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure the story was clear. So there's a story previously of Buddha's mother passing away after his birth. And Buddha's mother, Shapudun, so 7 days after Buddha's birth, she passed away. And Buddha, through his clairvoyance, recognized that she was reborn into the God's realm, and that she was a God. And if one has clairvoyance and single-pointed concentration, he or she can also produce miraculous powers, special powers. And these miraculous powers will allow one to fly in the sky or burrow under the ground or breathe underwater. There's various forms of miraculous powers, swift foot, various forms of miraculous powers that can be achieved through single-pointed concentration and so forth. So Buddha was able to take himself to the God's realm through this through these miraculous powers. So Buddha was able to go find his mother there, and if we want to be able to go check out, Rinpoche said, the God's realms, then maybe we should start meditating. Maybe we should start achieving these states of calm abiding and single-pointed concentration so that we can get clairvoyance, so that we can get miraculous powers. And if we want to go see what are in these realms, it's possible to do. So that was something that Rinpoche said, so I wanted to put that in there. So if one is a foe destroyer or a superior, all of these labels aren't necessary. It's the fact, it's whether or not these beings have achieved the state of single-pointed concentration or not, as to whether or not they have the ability to be a clairvoyant, because a clairvoyant must have achieved calm abiding and single-pointed concentration. So the story is that Buddha then went to the God's realm through this miraculous power in order to see his mother.
What did you do? That the Katul Moshe do the tongue of Jemashi in the Marbes, the Nagakashia Nyabanga du Jis, Nyabanga things will be Nyabanga yours, the bomb in du J entered out, it entered out, Nyabal Kazer.
Harms.
Harm. Things will be high harm. It entered out. Or the situation is in the Marbe. Sony Duda Jemachinas. June la Nepo Nyabanga.
Okay.
Nebo Duje, Nyabanga Pon Duje, do the general, do the J.
So in the Dodejen, the Mahayana Sutra Alamkara, it speaks of faults in meditation, and it speaks of 5 different faults and 8 antidotes, or 5 hindrances, I think that's the literal, hindrances to meditation, and 8 antidotes to those hindrances. So we will get into a more all-inclusive explanation of these hindrances as well as their antidotes in future classes. So we will go into this at a future time. So in the future weeks, we'll go over more explicitly the meaning of the stanzas that we just went through, because we quickly kind of read through stanzas, and in the future weeks we will be more detailed about these stanzas. So just so everyone is aware of that. So if folks have any questions, we can do that now, or we could just end, Rinpoche said.
Yeah.
But we still have to do dedications and so forth too. Yes, Katie?
Rinpoche, I just wanted to know if association I make with calm abiding is that I'm very calm and relaxed.
Might be a bad translation
And I
too.
think, at some point, the image that we're focusing on should become quite clear, as if we saw it like this cup, or we saw like Rinpoche, quite clear, not blurry.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That is the calm abiding. So my question is, to get to that state, I don't remember, but I heard one teacher say there's some breathing you can do beforehand to
Okay.
get to the calm state. But calm abiding, I think I would get confused. Oh, I'm relaxed now, so I'm in a state of calm abiding.
Right.
This is not true,
Right.
is it?
That's correct. That's
Calm
a
abiding,
fault.
when I say
Calm
the-
abiding is shine.
Shenega man
Shamatha.
kama bare.
Calm abiding.
When she look karza.
Clairvoyance.
Kabon.
Clairvoyance.
Zutul karza.
Miraculous powers.
Powers, yeah, zutul. When she do zutul, yeah.
So, so the question is, are those faults? Should the image be completely clear as if we're seeing in front of us?
At some point.
And is that the point of it?
That be the reason.
Okay. And just for everyone, calm abiding is a very loaded translation. I like mental quiescence better because that's a state of mind that's very placid and calm, that it would make more sense that one could build single-pointed concentration on. Calm abiding sounds kind of like just chilling out, abiding calmly. So I think it's kind of a loaded translation, but I will ask Rinpoche. Rinpoche, kongdise the tingenzi gom, the tingenzi lena, the yu selpo due. The mipa selpo
Da
due.
me ba la gomba ina la san tang du ro.
La dang
La san tang wa ina. Ane dam sebe yong do was. Yang paru ji ge sen na thong do. Me se wa chang. De du dingen ge jun xin wa se ge le wo. De yang sen de shi da ge to bu cha su na. De ko che to bu le su na. Yang go ba le wo se go ba. De cha ge cha du ge. Yang me ba ma de ba ji sang lu yin da ko yong wo se. Go ba da xin wa ni dingen ge jun res.
That's so.
Da yana yana gun ne da gade me badle an sen sebuje shu chibu tong shi ne ji go sa resta modul choja ja ba ina modul tong shi ne ji de gro sen sebuje she chibu ji go sa sen sebu yo ne den do se de xin wa le do go sa res sen tong bu nyo nyo gun sebu dan sen tong bu ke chibu sa res yang ya su ji yang de san dan yang ya su ji wa ke chibu sa res
Metu toja donagare.
matul bhola wal chulu wa ina
Chulu.
wara
Chulu. Oh, chuluro.
wara bol then bhola wa ji tung de ga
Okay, I understand.
then aji sen
Lesser,
bagi
tamche.
sebu je she chun de go
So yes, it is important that the object of observation becomes as if that object of observation, in a very, very small sense, when I say sense, I mean size, is the actual object itself. It should not be blurry. And what happens is, at first, when one sits down, the object of observation might be quite clear. Then one gets tired, and one of the faults of meditation comes in, and that's lethargy. So everything becomes blurry and dull, and the object of observation no longer has its crisp clarity. It is not stable. And then what can maybe happen is a shift from lethargy to excitement. And excitement is when the object of observation is scattered, and you're thinking of other things, and it's not possible to focus on one object of observation. So one has to continuously adjust in their meditation. It's necessary to make adjustments. If lethargy comes in, it's necessary to make an adjustment to counteract the lethargy. If excitement comes in, then it's necessary to apply some sort of practice or formula in order to eradicate the excitement. So it's necessary to constantly adjust one's meditation because the end result, the goal, is to have a very, very stable, secure, clear image in front of you that no longer is just an object of observation that one is facing. It becomes the real object itself.
ina tana nga zo sen de shira nyoba chuchung res ji gomba ina anu kul sebu yo chang chang sebu yo chang chang sebu yo ma res 다시네 그 가로 시집 찾아서나 미바 추중질 세부지 시부창우스르스.
Right now, honestly, our mind has very few abilities. We don't have the abilities to have this type of concentration at this moment. But in the future, if we practice and we're consistent and persevere, then we will be able to, through perseverance, achieve these states of single-pointed concentration. It will be achieved. It's very similar to awakening a flower. Sometimes if you have a flower and you put a little water on it, it opens up and it becomes alive again. Likewise, if one engages in this, one can awaken the ability to have this type of concentration.
What the Nijigona was that gone Natsuk Sende, and Nyomung order to the Oris, Natsu sang order, San Yomung order, and Natsu Les and Korakuderis. Dingens Gombaina, and the Kale Dingens the Abbot Johnson, Dingens San on Junguris. Sell on Dingens Santen Sell on Jabutis, Dingens Sell on June, Saint June, Saint Yomung on Tango Maris. Dingens Dingens Gona Yabajumatuna, Saint Yomung on Sundaris, and then also Saint on Saint Yomung on Sune, and then Lemon was son called Kudia things.
So, if one is bound to cyclic existence, then Jason.
Santen Sell on Jabutis, Larry Dudendua, Santen Sell on Jabutis, Dingens Yabugombaina, Dingens the Sell on Junguris.
Okay, the time shade tring you. So if
Dingens Sell on Jumatuaina, Natsu sang on some Saint Catherine's, said Yomung on the Desert of Condu, Najeta, what they want to do in the lesser waters. Saint Gon Dingens the Abjonsuna, Dingens Sell on June, and the Saint Gishul waters. What this was Dingens Pen what things is.
So the virtues of having this single-pointed concentration are as follows. At this point, our mind is influenced by the afflictions. Our mind is controlled by our afflictions, and this is why we are thrown again and again into cyclic existence, because our afflictions are causing us to behave in certain ways, and these actions are producing karma, non-virtuous karma, and virtuous karma, and then we are propelled into cyclic existence again and again. But if we have single-pointed concentration, then we are able to gain control of our minds. We are able to kind of harness our minds so they are not pushed around and led around by the afflictions. They are led by the single-pointed concentration, and the mind, in a sense, will have its own free will to be able to focus on any virtuous object instead of focusing on anger and attachment and pride and jealousy and greed.
Tang also sent the launching Joba numbers, Lambujin Jumba. And Lambujin Jumba the Vaki Shin that Tanjile, Jaga Tabak de Tashana, and the Kote de Grova. Was a Nazu sent the launching Joba numbers. That thing is one of me but Jill Tiji Neshabate, Lambujit Shil Tasha numbers. What the Abbot Johnson all things.
At this point, our mind is like a crazy elephant. But single-pointed concentration is similar to taking that crazy elephant, wrapping a chain around him, and tying him to a tree so he can no longer move around and do that damage.
And also Lambujin Abbot tree, Langa, and the chicken to the Shineko at the tree that is Tumble Lambujin Abbot was, and the Kalega Kabachan was, and things the Abbot Johnson, the Kalega, the same Kabachan.
And there's an illustration, a picture where one can see this elephant going up various stages, and at the beginning he's very dark color, and at the end it's clear, and there's clarity, and this is symbolic of the darkness of the lack of ability to control the mind, and the clarity of once one achieves single-pointed concentration.
Then I Lambuji Kabuji, then the Gale Galoji Nakalpo to Tangandua, Dingenzi Abu Jungashi Abu Jonsuna, and Zutu to the Nakalpo.
And then it goes from this clear elephant into an ordained monk. There's a picture, and it's flying into this. He's flying into the sky because once one has this single pointed concentration and clairvoyance, miraculous powers also follow.
What the pains is.
You can see this picture.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If the person has the clairvoyance, then they see the suffering. They can see the suffering, terrible suffering of beings.
Mm-hmm.
So then this person, say this lay person or this Buddha or this Bodhisattva sees this suffering,
Mm-hmm.
then this is not a very pleasant thing to observe.
Mm-hmm.
So then one can do other practices to assuage the suffering that one sees through clairvoyance.
So why would one want to? Like you, because the person who sees the suffering suffers?
If they're seeing it, they have compassion, so they will suffer because they have the compassion.
Okay.
So you have to have tremendous compassion also to have clairvoyance. To make this will to have clairvoyance, because you will see the suffering too, I think.
Right. Okay, so
not
it's a
a
multi.
question,
Do you have to have compassion to have clairvoyance? Is that
I would say it would be very good, because you would see the suffering too.
right? But is it? It's not. Is the question? Is that part of the question? I know the answer is no. You don't have to have compassion to have clairvoyance. But okay, so let me just real quickly ask Rinpoche the first part. Rinpoche, the konde seglu, the ngushe yuna, dene dugyal the datudu, dugyal mambo datudu, dene sem ju yongdu, the sem the mingare. Semju yongre. Dene dugyal the nejong sampa yomare the
Joa, Nanu Samba.
the kongi trua de yomare the ngushe yuna then the ngushiken dugyal mambo datudu gangin sena
Dugyal mambo
ngushe.
yongre.
Then kon sampa dugyal mambo yongre gangin sena the konsu sem the chipo yomare gangin sena konsu dugyal dagadu then konsu sem chipo yomare then konsu sampa the nyepo garre gangin sena the dugyal dana the sem chipo yomare then gariche.
Dunga Mabu Tonsuna, Nanu Samba more yongres. Nanu Samba more yongres, Tabadon Lomo yongres. Or then the sensual Shuchu with that. Guishul San Tamatubaina, Uncle Dunga Mondrubanda Vinjera, Nanu Samba Lomo San Tamaina, could lay down new moving Debbie, but in the Tomaina, and Nanu Samba go Mondores.
So actually, this suffering is a very important tool for one to utilize to produce renunciation. Because if renunciation is produced, then one can quickly achieve liberation and one can quickly achieve the state of complete Buddhahood. And that is when what will allow one to truly be of aid to these beings that he or she sees suffering. And through seeing this type of suffering, the renunciation is increased, and he or she understands cyclic existence, so will realize that this suffering was created by non-virtue and created by misdeeds. So that will force him or her also to modify their behavior in recognizing the results of negativity, and will not only allow them to modify their behavior, but will increase their virtue because the compassion will increase, the renunciation they have will increase, and their motivation to get out and their motivation to become a Buddha will increase because of all of the suffering that they see around them. And it would not make them suffer, it would just increase their perseverance. A bodhisattva, someone who is a real practitioner, not someone like me. So maybe that's enough, Rinpoche said.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we do just the Samanta Bhadra. We'll do the mandala offering in Tibetan, Samanta Bhadra dedication in Tibetan, and the 3 long life prayers, because I believe Rinpoche wants to, yeah. So let's do the mandala offering, concluding mandala offering and dedication prayer in Tibetan. bege wadi tendan roa kun la gambendan je ba je zun lo zandra pa yi dembe nimbo rindu zin ye jo idam guru ratna mandala gam niratayam Nyambe bawu jeta chen padang Gong tu sampo de yan de shin te De da gong ji jesu da lo jing Ge wa de da dan che ra du ngo Du som she pe je wa tan che ji Ngo wa gan la cho tu nga pa de Da shen ge we tsa wa de kun jang Sampo chu chi ra tu ngo ni Ngam ri ra we go we jin yam ning den nam de wa ma lun jong we ning Chenrezig Tenzin yad zoi shamezine manun den yon lo zon zambo jun yen nang ala yon rin jamban ze meng ewe jen lon dan dom ben em ba zin jema so wan da rin jin jam den jo lon dru ye jung ar mum ba ze la den go zon dong dam ju zin dan jo zun run du zan da ru jin ge jing gom bo yo